This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Spotify revolutionized the way that we listen to music, right? And then they ruined it. What started as a genuinely game-changing technology that brought us out of the world of CDs and iPods and into the world of digital streaming has now become such a disaster that we're going back to pirating our tunes again. You love to see it. This is not just a story about a tech company selling out their soul to shareholder interest. I mean, it is that too, of course. But no, this is a story of how we have lost touch with the things that we love in the name of convenience, and how the tech company world has slowly trapped us with these overpriced subscriptions that we never wanted in the first place. People are deleting the app, myself included, canceling their subscriptions and moving back to an objectively more annoying way of listening to music because Spotify has dropped the ball so badly. But it's not just the AI slop that's everywhere or the algorithm that makes music listening essentially meaningless. It is also because there is a billionaire who runs this company who is unsurprisingly a piece of garbage. So this is the story of why everyone hates Spotify. Spotify is probably one of my least favorite tech companies ever, and in this video I want to share my opinions, why. But no, this is not just going to be some sort of, rant. It's gonna be a rant. But it has been verified and confirmed. My opinions have been validated by Matthew and Lou. So it's not just some white guy with brown hair talking out his ass this whole time. It's been validated by another guy with brown hair and a girl with brown hair. Now, in many ways, this is a classic story of a tech company's in-shitification, which is a term that we've used a number of times on this channel. It's a story that we've talked about before. The story goes like this. A tech company that starts out with a genuinely novel, potentially revolutionary idea helps solve a problem with a product that has a price point that makes sense, that is maybe even remarkably affordable. And then only once they've captured enough of the market does the product slowly degrade in quality, and then the prices start to increase in tandem. And then suddenly we're stuck with a shitty product at a very high price tag. And all of this is done to bring profits back to shareholders. Now, I'm going to be particularly bitter in this video because this is personal for me, honestly. I was an early adopter of Spotify. I had like one of the first family subscriptions that you could get. I don't even know if that's like a novel thing to even mention, but like I was very early in on this and I was bullish about it. Like I would ridicule people who didn't have Spotify, and I would tell them about Spotify and how amazing it is because I genuinely love the service and I listen to it for hours every single day. And then in 2025, I deleted Spotify. And since then, I have been on this very janky mission to try and find a better way of listening to music. I've been through not one, but 3 free CD players. I actually just bought one for $50, so this is like my 4th CD player, because CD players generally kind of suck unless you're willing to spend a lot of money on them, it seems. And look, I've learned a lot from this experience, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more later. But the thing is, since I've made the decision to leave, I have only felt more justified in doing so for a myriad of reasons. So let's get into it. But first, let's take a minute to talk about a tech company that actually brings value and innovation to the table with a focus on helping people through making something complicated, like building a website from scratch, actually incredibly easy, and that is Squarespace. So one of the reasons why we decided to partner with Squarespace on this channel is because I actually use Squarespace. When we choose a partnership, we make sure that it is something practical and functional that people can actually use. It's something that is not built on mindless consumerism, and that it is something that preferably we have used in the past. And Squarespace ticks all those boxes. We decided to go with Squarespace to build our website because they offer a complete library of website templates with options for every use and category. We mainly needed a landing page and a spot to talk about how we run our business, and luckily Squarespace is really flexible to what you need. They have intuitive drag and drop editing, beautiful styling options, great visual design effects, and more. So if you want to check them out, go to squarespace.com/Hildebrand or click the link in the description for a free trial. And when you are ready to launch, use the code Hildebrand to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. If you already have a website though that's outdated, you need a little revamp, or you're just looking to start something brand new, Squarespace is the perfect place to get started, as they have integrated SEO tools for online discovery. Every website is also optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more. So you show up more often on search engines and bring more people to your site. They've also got built-in analytics tools to review website traffic, to learn where to focus engagement, and track revenue from bookings, invoices, or product sales, all in one place. If you are interested, go to squarespace.com/Hildebrand or click the link down in the description for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the code Hildebrand to save 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. A huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Every time I talk about CDs and MTV or whatever, I feel like such a boomer. But you know what? Back in my day, kids used to play outside. And listen, there have been huge shifts in the way that we consume music over the years. And I'm not saying that Spotify ruined music because of that shift, but I think it has changed the way that we listen to music in a really fundamental way. The reason why streaming services became popular is because pirating through like LimeWire or Pirate Bay was just a little too sketchy for most people. And half the time you'd download an album and there wouldn't be any track names or whatever, or it'd be like a completely different album with the names from the album you wanted. It was kind of a mess. Maybe it's better now. I don't know. Everybody's going there and doing it, as we're going to talk about later. So maybe it's time to get back on the wagon. But at the time, the idea of paying a marginal monthly fee to access literally any music on the face of the planet, rather than paying for songs individually or buying CDs or whatever, you know, that seemed like a very good deal. But what I think Spotify has done to the way we listen to music is not just in the literal physical sense, but it has changed our relationship to the listening experience generally. In all the previous examples of music consumption, the media that we consumed was something that we chose deliberately, and in many cases, spent real money on. That single difference, I think, changed more about the music world than we even kind of realized. Like, it's like comparing the eating habits of someone at an all-you-can-eat buffet versus a plated dinner. But in this case, the all-you-can-eat buffet is delivered to you, and you don't even really have any choice about what it is that you're eating half of the time. Here's another metaphor that I came up with. The difference between a mixtape and an AI-generated playlist on Spotify is ultimately intention. The mixtape was probably made by someone you know. It wasn't based on your listening history within an app or whatever, or like the keywords that you typed in. It was based on someone else's listening and catered to some abstract and totally unquantifiable connection between the two of you. The Spotify playlist is all based on the vibes that you want to curate, not the artist you want to listen to or even the genre that you're interested in many cases. Like, I would look at my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year and I would not recognize a single artist on it because I wasn't listening to the music. I was using it to fill silence. And look, as you probably can get the vibe, I love validating my opinions on this, clearly, because I found other people on Reddit who were also very disappointed in the Spotify Wrapped of 2025. The design and lack of creativity genuinely keeps worsening every single year. Boom. There is a whole other side to the Spotify Wrapped that we maybe don't even have time to get into, but like, they created this very powerful social media tool to sort of celebrate surveillance. Like, they are watching everything that you do on the platform to the point where they know exactly what you've consumed, and that information is going to be used to sell you stuff on the platform. Like, that's why they run ads on Spotify. And that's what those ads are based on, is your Spotify Wrapped. And it's not even accurate. It's tailored in a specific way to get you to listen to things that we're going to get into it. Now, of course, there are lots of people who use Spotify more deliberately, and they curate playlists for their friends and their family, and they may be unique and meaningful. But on a whole, the platform has made listening convenient and inadvertently made us care less about what it is that we're listening to. Now, my journey to unlearn all of this has been interesting, and I have been exposed to things that I wouldn't have normally chosen to play for myself. I also realized that I use music particularly to kind of fill space in my head, and I was using a particular kind of music that AI is very good at creating. Which brings me to one of my biggest beefs with Spotify, which is how it has ruined the music industry. Now, Zachary Smeagol, I really hope it's Smeagol. I really hope his last name is not pronounced Smeagol. Zachary on YouTube here has made a great and far more thorough breakdown on how Spotify has influenced and degraded the music industry, which you should totally watch. But there are a couple of points of his that I want to reiterate here so that more people know about it. See, Spotify will do everything in their power to not pay artists for their music. It is like their #1 agenda. Every single meeting, they're like, all right, guys, how do we keep these artists on food stamps? How many fucking cents do they pay for stream? Take your guesses right now. It is 0.005 cents or 0.003 cents. However, it gets worse. Spotify makes a big point of saying publicly that they don't pay per stream because there's a variety of factors that go into this, like agreements with labels and distributors and whatever, which means that the amount that artists could see is actually much lower than that. Not to mention that a band is not usually just one person, so you gotta divide that 0.003 cents by like the 4 people that are in your band. But look, this is actually not the worst part of this for me. In some ways, we have to be glad that Spotify pays people at all because they have been known to create what are known as ghost artists, which are basically fake artists that they create using songs that are either batch made by some unnamed production house or whatever, or like in today's situation, an AI bot. They use these ghost artists to fill out playlists that they can promote and monetize without having to pay artists at all. And according to a subreddit, it is particularly common in the ambient chill study playlists, which I was listening to for hours on end. It's very frustrating when you realize that not only were you paying for the subscription that is inherently shitty, but you were consuming the worst kind of AI slop garbage that the platform pioneered. It's like, wow, great, love that for me. Really hitting the coffee hard here. I'm about to fucking tweak out. I'm just like, This is so common that somebody actually coined a word for it. The phenomenon is called perfect fit content. It was coined by author Liz Pelly, who wrote a whole book on Spotify's new dominance in the music world. And if you don't want to read the whole book, there's actually an awesome article that she wrote in Harper's Magazine that you can access for free. We've linked it down in the description in our sources document, which we have in every single video, which outlines all the things that I'm talking about and the points that I'm referencing. Like, I'm not just talking out of my ass, guys. But it gets worse, y'all. What do you know? There are AI musicians out there today, entirely fake bands or artist profiles designed to trick their audiences into listening to their music, and all that money just goes to Spotify. Just recently, we've seen the rise and hopefully the fall of Sienna Rose. She's an artist with almost 3 million listeners, 0 live performances, and more songs released in the last year than any of the pros.
Guys, big fan of music over here. Just found out that my favorite artist is an AI, and I'm talking about Sienna Rose. I think that's her name is. It's AI.
I'm now just drinking out of compulsion, I swear to God. And why are these AI musicians becoming so popular? Well, there's a very simple answer, really. It's because this is the perfect way for Spotify to increase the amount of money that they make as a platform, right? Unsurprisingly, Spotify is finally starting to turn a profit after being in business for almost 20 years. And much of that coming after we've seen the widespread disapproval with the service itself. It's like, oh, wait, so you needed to gouge artists, create AI slop music, and double the price of all your services and start running ads in order to be profitable? Wait, what? And how much does your CEO make? We'll get into that in a minute. At this point, it's like tech companies are just catfishing all of us. They pop up with like a new idea and a bunch of seed funding that they use to artificially offer cheap prices and competitive wages to gain market share and hopefully reach another round of funding to get to that sweet, sweet, sweet IPO, baby. And then, as soon as everyone has made their playlist, all the unionized employees from the industry that they've disrupted has been laid off, and culture has just accepted this new norm, boom, the prices go up, the services get worse, and we're all left holding the bag. Or in this case, looking for CDs at the thrift store. But here's the biggest problem. Here's my biggest with this whole thing. It's the CEO. Spotify made another CEO a billionaire. Now, I don't want to be the I did it before it was cool guy, but shortly after I ditched my Spotify account, there was a huge surge of videos and articles about the CEO of Spotify shifting his focus from music to AI and drone warfare. But there's been so many examples of Spotify being on the wrong side of history already. Just last December, we saw that Spotify Unwrapped was happening, as a big boycott happening online, specifically around the fact that they were running ICE recruitment ads on their platform. This on top of the AI slop and the military AI investment. And what this shows to me is that the people who pioneer these tech companies are never like passionate artists. They're not musicians or engineers or something. They're just seeking money. They will do anything that they need to do to make as much money as possible. When the money was in music, that's what they did. When we are slowly descending globally into World War III, they're the first ones to start building the fucking bombs.
The guy who owns Spotify is like a billionaire. He could have very easily built a higher revenue share into each musical stream for creators, and it wouldn't have affected his life at all. Like, I think that sadly, it is this greed cycle that we are stuck in that is eroding these platforms.
So here we are, collectively saying fuck you, and I love it. Piracy and CDs are making a comeback. Now, I don't want to ruin my own hobby here, but CDs are actually the fucking move, you guys. LPs are overpriced. They got a whole bunch of music nerds going crazy about them, but people are ignoring CDs. You can still pick them up for like a couple of bucks. They're at thrift stores all the time. You can get whole ass binders of them from your friends who don't want them anymore for free. Thank you, Kate. And this whole trend of finding more analog and IRL consumption habits has been really sticking around. Like, it's not just an online trend that's happening. People are doing this. We got people bringing back the iPod and MP3 players to bring their music on the go, and probably my favorite part about this is that they're loading these puppies up with pirated music. That's right. We are literally saying, if buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing. And we're back on the high seas of the Pirate Bay to get the fucking booty we need for our ear holes. The numbers on this are fucking crazy. I love it. We're talking a jump from 160 billion visits to piracy websites in 2020 to 210 billion in 2004. That's 4 years. The big jump. 4 years, big jump. And this is entirely to do with the shittiness of the platforms that offer these subscription services. It's cause and effect. You take away the features that people wanted and charge them more money for the same or worse, and they're gonna go and get it somewhere else. However, we do still believe that artists deserve to be paid for the things that they're creating, and that's not gonna happen if nobody is paying for music anymore. So there are still a few options for those of you who wanna support the artists who are doing the things. My wife and I have made a commitment to use all the money that we've saved from our Spotify subscription and just put that into merch and CDs this year. Bought a whole bunch of stuff from Dan Mangan, and he's great. Shout out Dan Mangan. There's also other platforms like Bandcamp, where they give you the option to own your media without having to have physical CDs, which I know a lot of people are not into. Plus, they have just come out and publicly said that they are banning all AI music from their platform, which seems like it should be an easy thing for every streaming service to be able to do, right? Like, why is Apple Music and Tidal and all these other platforms not saying the exact same thing?
It kind of allows for a happy medium there. You know, we talked about it in one of the many videos we talked about unsubscribing from things, where we said, you know, owning physical media takes up physical space in your life, and that's not something that everybody is willing to do. There are a lot of conveniences to having things digitally. It shouldn't come at the cost of artists not getting paid and AI slop taking over and all the other stuff, right?
I know the shows are expensive and you know, not exactly accessible for everybody, but it's kind of the best way to go. If you can afford to go to a show, IRL, listening to music, come on, that's the freaking move. If you like this video, literally like it. Come on, do it. Just fucking hit that like thing. Subscribe if you want to, and you will see us every week for another upload. I freaking love you guys.